In this video, I will take you through some of the arithmetic functions which are provided as a framework. So what I've done is that I've gone onto this website, which is called stepsforstem.org, and they provide you a list of some of the arithmetic functions in the R framework. And just to save time, what I've done, I've picked a few functions, a few common functions, and I've copied them from the website, and I've already pasted it in my R Studio environment. And what I'll do is that I'll basically go through these arithmetic functions. I'll run these arithmetic functions, and at the same time I'll try to explain some of these functions. So the first function is log. It gives you by default an output, natural logarithm for the value which you provide. If you want to have base 10, then you can provide this function log 10, and this will give you the output with base 10. You can explicitly set the base, so you can use the same log function. You can give the value for which you want to find the log, but you can also set the base 10 explicitly. So I'll quickly run these three functions just to give you a bit of feel. Works. So you can see the output of the first function, and then you can see that both of these functions are giving you the same output. The difference is that over here we have provided the base explicitly, but we can change the base, so we can say something like 100 or something like that. So that's kind of flexible, so we can give it a different base every time we want to give a different base. So these are the two functions. We can also see square root, which is again self-explanatory. We expect an output of 4 as a result of calculating square root of 16, and then we have got an absolute function, and the output for what we expect over here is an output of 4. We know that 3 minus 7 is a negative 4, but the absolute function is meant to just ignore the negative or positive. It just gives you an output, so the output is always going to be positive, whether we have a negative value or positive value. So let me quickly execute these two, and we can see that the square root is 4. Square root of 16 is 4, and again 3 minus 7 is minus 4, but because it ignores negative and just gives you an output, so we can see 4. Now we have some constants in our framework, so pi is one of the examples. Let me just clear the console, Control L, and this will clear the console. So basically pi is a constant which R provides, and if I execute this line of code, it will give me a value of pi, and it will give me the output up until the 7th digit. Now you can basically use a round function if you want to have if you want to apply rounding to your decimal fraction. So you can use a round function, and you can also state to which decimal place you want it to apply rounding off. So for example, if you specify 0 and then execute this, you'll see that it will ignore all the decimal fractions, and it will give you a whole number, which is 3. You can also specify a different second parameter. So if you want to apply rounding to pi up until the first decimal place, you can specify 1, or if you want to apply rounding to a value of pi up until the 4th place, you can specify 4. So right now I'll just execute these two lines of code, and we can see that we've got the desired output. Now if you go back to this value of pi, and I'll just execute it again, what we can see over here that it has by default given us an output up until the 7th decimal place, 3.141593. So this is something like global setting. So, and we can change this global setting. So we can say that from now and onwards, we always want our to give us an output up until, let's say, the 15th decimal place. If there is a value which goes up until the 15th decimal place, we can change that global setting. But to see what global setting is applied to our environment right now, we can use this function, which is options. And if I run this function and go up, I can see something like digits. Let me just find it quickly. So I can see some settings in console, and okay, so if I let me just try to show you. Yeah, so over here you can see that currently the digits are set to 7. That's why it is giving us an output up until the 7th decimal place. But I can very easily change this global setting, and I can see options. If I write this function options again with a parameter called digits, and if I say I want to set it to 15, and if I run this again, let me just clear the console. If I run this again, option does not exist because it's options. So if I run this again, so now it has hopefully set it to 15. So let me run options again to see the new global settings for options for digits. So now I can see the digits have been set to 15. So now if I run this line of code, which states pi again, let me just clear it again and let me just run it again. So now I can see the output up until the 15th decimal place. Now R provides some other interesting functions, which consists of flow, ceiling, cos, sine, tan. You can get inverse of cos, inverse of sine, inverse of tan, and all these functions. There's a long list of functions. I'm not going to be able to cover all these functions, but I've shown you just a few of these functions. There's another function called factorial. So I can get a factorial of any value. But these are just a few functions which I've tried to show you in this video. What I'll do is that I will execute these 3 functions very quickly again. So I can see the factorial of 5, which is 120. I can see when it tries to flow any decimal fraction, it basically shows 15 as an output to 15.9. Also, it is trying to apply this ceiling function to a value of 15.1, and it is making it 16. So these are some of the functions related to decimal values, and I can also have these functions cos, sine, tan, and then inverse of those things. So I'll try to execute these functions, and you can see that R calculates the values and give us the desired output for all these functions. So that's pretty much it for this video. And again, there's a long list of arithmetic functions. You can check them on our documentation, but this video was just an overview of some of the functions, just to give you a bit of flavor of what kind of capabilities R can provide.